How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
Is it it's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool!
Hello everyone, I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
Alright, let's get to it!
Hello, welcome back. You are now live with Sam. I've taken your host hostage.
Jokes,
Nice.
we're still here. Welcome back, and as you can hear, Sam is still here for another episode. And this one's going to be about relationships and discussing our top red flags in dating and even just red flags for people in general.
Yeah. Let's just start from in general perspective. What are the red flags or cues that we take note of when we look at people or talk to people and that sort of stuff? So it could be anything like, this person could be a dick, or character-wise where they're probably not logical, don't have common sense, those sort of things. So in a general term perspective, what are the things that, Sam, like, you would see or you would look at, pick up on those?
If they're actually carrying like a red flag, that's a big red flag.
Just in case you didn't see it.
If they have a bad reputation, usually that means it's somewhat could be true, but I'm not sure, usually. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone's experience with this person gave him such a bad experience that people talk about this person.
Yeah.
It could be bullying, but usually it's some half true, right?
But I mean, at the same time, you gotta
Experience it yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to like see through that, I guess, to see if it's actually a real red flag or not.
What if it's someone that you've never seen or heard of? Like, what's a
red flag? How fast they reply to me and how often. If they check their phones on the date or texting constantly.
like, as in, like,
Oh,
if
is
they're
this
with
first
you.
date or what?
general, like,
Just general.
Oh, generally.
meeting
Yeah.
people?
Oh, just if you're talking to them and they seem like a nice person. Yeah. then
What are
that's a good thing.
some like maybe body languages or words that they use
Oh,
that you take?
How they interact with everyone. So say you're on a date and they treat our waiter or server really badly, or that's just a red flag.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they look down on people. That's a bad thing.
And also, like, I see red flags. It doesn't have to be categorized in dating or in general. Like, I feel like it could work across the board. So I think there's no differences for me between the two.
Yeah, which is fair, because a person outside of, like, well, just in normality of life will be the same in their relationships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you're going to see them act, treat, just be themselves in every situation. So you kind of can gauge whether or not they are, like, whatever it is, a weirdo or a wanker or a cockhead to certain people. Or even in Sam's perspective, like treating people like shit.
Yeah.
Or putting them down or looking down on them.
I think, like, for some people, red flags could be more physical things. Maybe, like, some girls might like dudes with longer hair. Some girls might like dudes with shorter hair. Like, if they work out, if they're jacked, or if they're skinny, like, those are different things
Personal
that they
preference,
would have.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
personal preference.
Yeah, and that's personal preference, which I feel like that's not really a red flag,
Yeah.
to be honest. That's just your preference.
Unless
of
they're
what
like,
you
oh,
prefer.
I've dated my ex who had long hair. Now I can't date anyone with long hair. Maybe
Been
that's a red flag
scarred,
for them. Yeah.
scarred for life.
Yeah, true. Or like if they dealt with someone in the past who was like, I don't know, a certain character, and they just had a shit experience. So like, writing off those kind of people from now on.
So do you have any red flags yourself? Speaking for both relationships and in general?
Yeah, so for me, I'm all about character, morale, and how they think. And the reason why is because it can be applied in different situations, right? So, you know, if a person has a shit character as a friend, they're going to be the same in a relationship. And then in a relationship, it's going to be the same in a work environment.
Yeah.
Because that's just who they are.
Yeah, they can't re-roll.
Yeah.
You can't change. You can't, you know what I mean? Unless they learned from something or a mistake and then they've pushed themselves to learn and improve, then okay. But that takes time. That takes experience and applying that. It's not a quick change.
Yeah, because like if you're going to change and, you know, alter yourself to be like a better person or you look like a better person in a relationship, you can only upkeep that for so long if you're not genuine. And then if you're like a dick in real life to your other friends, like you can't just keep lying to yourself.
That's
So
gonna
eventually you'll show. So that's why I feel like it's interchangeable between the two. And I agree, like I look for characters as well.
Yeah. I'm more after genuine people who genuinely care, who are transparent, who is open to have that conversation, i.e. like if I didn't like anything about Sam, or if he did something bad, I'd be like, dude, you did this. And I would want him to be like, yeah, okay, cool, I acknowledge that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like to be open to have that conversation.
So would a red flag be someone who, say, they did something wrong by accident and they didn't really own up to it? Like, not that they didn't own up, but they didn't really mention it to you and be like, oh, sorry, this thing went wrong today. Like, they didn't tell you about it.
I think it's more that stubbornness. If someone were to say to them, hey, you did this or you did that, and then they're like, nah, it's all good. I didn't do any of that shit.
Like it's
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
When you're trying to actually...
Like, shrug it off
Yeah.
or something.
Like
Yeah.
they just kind of like brush off and like, nah, it's not me, it's you, or it's that person, or, you know, they deflect the issue and they make it something else.
Or they're like, oh, well, kind of thing.
Yeah, or someone who would be like, oh, well,
Yeah, like whatever.
like, you know what I mean? Like people who do that, it's kind of like, well, hold up, dude. Like,
Because in a way, like, even though it's not directly, it can come across disrespectful as well if they're just going to shrug it off or, like, ignore it. It may not be their initial intention, but it just, in a way, they don't think about how you would feel or the end result of what they've done.
It also builds up. Like, imagine
Yeah.
keep telling this person off for doing something and they just not learn.
Yeah. Which I think can also lead to, like, another red flag for me is just sometimes, I guess, communication where they're just not on your wavelength. So if you're talking to someone or trying to explain how to, you know, better yourself or please don't do this next time, but they don't understand and you're kind of just talking into a blank wall. Like, they don't understand where you're coming from, or they didn't even try to understand from your perspective of why you're either annoyed or don't like this certain thing. Like, they might enjoy it or think it's funny, like a joke or something, but you don't feel like it's funny. I think that can be a red flag because your communication levels are different in two different places.
They might just need subtitles.
What language would you like?
oh, shit.
Chinese, Spanish, Japanese.
But it is true, though.
Yeah.
Like, there are people out there who legit need subtitles.
Yeah,
Like
Relationship.
you tell them straight up and they still don't understand it. Well, they choose
Yeah.
not to understand it. That's just
Yeah.
where stubbornness comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an issue, though. Like, it's just like I get it if you were to say something and you couldn't comprehend what it was straight away, but if you're open to have that conversation and be like, hang on, I don't understand where you're coming from. Let's talk about it like adults. To have that conversation and to accept that conversation, that's what I respect. But for you to go, hold up, like, no, I don't get what you're saying, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, just shut it down.
Could be
straight
the
away.
personality, like narcissism,
Yeah. Yeah.
where they have to always be right.
Yeah. And that's another thing too.
Personality traits.
Yeah. Like, there are people out there who are like dead set, like, I'm fucking right. Fuck you guys. You have to follow what I fucking set the rules as. And it's like they don't understand reality as to there's other things outside of their bubble.
Or just compromising.
Or compromising that there is other things that can affect or be affected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, that as an example is a red flag for me. Is you know what I mean? Like,
Like, they have to be right, and if they're not right or they've been wronged, they don't really apologize for it. They just kind of move on with their life.
They shrug it off, man.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that way they seem like they weren't wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an issue though, right? Like, to have people like that. And that's why character is such an important thing to, I guess, get a gauge of when you're either first meeting someone in general or if you're, potentially dating them, because you can get an understanding of what their character is, on how they are reacting to certain things, how they treat certain people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all those small nitty gritty things really do mean a lot.
And like, but going back to just seeing like how their true self would eventually reveal, that's why I don't really look at how someone treats me. Like, say I was going on a date or a few dates and I've seen this guy a few times. I don't look like fully into how they treat me, because everything's new, everything's fresh. They're willing to do what they can to be with you. Yeah, so you look at how they treat other people, because that's when they don't really care. There's nothing on the line, and that's their true self.
Yeah, and that's like what Sam said, like they just put an act on. So it's good to put them in certain situations or various situations where they can be their true self.
So does that mean if you were to take someone on a date, would you go in a public area, like cafe or something where you can see? But then they can't interact with anyone.
They interact with the speaker.
Gets angry at it. Give me my friggin' chicken nuggets.
I don't know. Where would you
First
go?
date.
Yeah.
Always go out to eat. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, like in the public, hey?
Yeah, I'm not going to fucking cook for him. Not on the first date.
But do you subtly try and, test the
plan it.
person? Yeah, subtly test the person.
I think you can gauge them while you're talking to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can ask them questions, talk on the phone and shit. And you suss each other out. And then if you're happy with that, then you move on to the date.
Yeah.
And then that's when you see what they're like in real life. Doesn't matter where you take them. You can see their body language.
Yeah.
But then what if it's a situation where you're like not face to face, like if it's
Started with a text or something.
well, not
Or
just
if
that
we went to like watch a movie or some shit.
or that.
The way you can't really talk.
Yeah, like you can't.
Zoom dates.
Yeah, or like let's say you're interested in someone and they live interstate. Like how do you gauge?
You wouldn't take the relationship further until you meet them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that is true, because didn't you meet your girlfriend online? So what did you do to kind of gauge?
Just talk to them, video calls, and then met in person. Yeah. That's when you take it the next step after you meet them in person. Whether you're happy with this person, if they're happy with you as well. Goes vice versa. And then, take it to the next level.
How did you commit to like actually fly down or whatever?
Oh, yeah, we was talking for a while as friends. First, yeah.
For like a few months kind of while, or like a whole year kind of while?
Probably more than half a year.
And then was the experience surreal to actually see the person in real life? And then when that happened, was it like, oh fuck, she is really what
she's what I like as a person and as a friend.
Did you have expectations that you were expecting, or you kind of like had no expectations?
No, I had expectations and she met them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think for me, like just speaking like for our experience, I just asked a lot of hypothetical questions. Is like, if this happened, what would you do? Or like, if in this situation this arise, like how do you problem solve this? Like that's a lot of the questions that I would ask. But I'd ask that to like a lot of people in general, and that's how I gauge people's personality, is just how they problem solve.
Yeah, and I mean on that too, sometimes when you're physically with them, seeing their reactions and how they behave can also give you your answers too.
Yeah.
Like if you're out and about, like just interactions, right, with anyone, random people, it gives you that idea as to how or what they truly are. And that's when you can sort of gauge, oh, well, this chick's fucking retarded. because they've done something or they reacted in a certain way where you kind of like, well, hold up, I don't fuck with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, or like in Sam's case, it's like you met the person, you go, okay, well, based on digitally talking to that person, this is how I felt.
You're a good person, I can tell.
Yeah. And then you actually met the person in real life and you're like, oh, fuck, okay. That's what I...
Yeah, same shit, yeah.
Same shit, yeah.
Same
but
person.
like, and also saying that like preferences and red flags and all that, sometimes you end up compromising some of those. So like in what way would you actually start to compromise some things? Like say, for example, this chick really liked to pick her toes or something and you're like, that's disgusting. But and everything else, she's a really nice person. Like, do you compromise?
But that's two different things though.
Is it?
Well, if you think about it...
Because that could be temporary, like, do you know what I mean? You can fix that.
Habit.
The toe thing.
Yeah, just pay for pedicures or some shit. Cut her toes off.
Well... I mean, look, I've seen that the toe picking thing is actually a real thing.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen like a girl who is like as a character really good, like really cool, down to earth, open, blah blah blah.
But she's like a grub or something.
She's a little bit of a grub. Like I've seen her pick her toes.
You better not be talking about me.
No. Like someone I used to work with, and like fingernails. You see like dirt and
like
shit.
Biting fingernails and stuff.
No. Just like you see shit.
Dirty fingernails.
What?
Yeah. And like she's...
Just hygiene. Bad hygiene.
Yeah, bad hygiene, but she's actually really cool.
Yeah. So it's
to
like
hang
at
out with.
what stage or how far would you start to actually consider compromising some
Maybe
of
just
these
tell
things?
them to like work on it, you know what I mean?
Well-
That's fixable shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you can talk to them about. And if it's something that they aren't, I guess, at a point where they can accept it and work on it, then that's your call to go, well, hang on.
Can you live with that or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes those small things, it's hard to move on or hard to accept.
Yeah.
Because you could be like a clean person and then the other person could be a really dirty person. And then you're like, well, hang on, like it could clash. Yeah. And like, even though it's minor, small things can kind of go pretty far.
They can build up.
Yeah. And then you like might start resenting in the relationship if it progresses.
Potentially, yeah. Because it's just like you're at a point where you're like, well, you've got this person who's fucking great, but she's also a piece of shit where she does all this shit. And it's kind of like, well...
She's a 10, but she picks her toes.
Need that meme now.
Yeah.
Someone make it. Yeah. No, that is true though. And it's also down to how far, like, you want to take it in terms of if you want to go ahead or not. Because,
Well,
like, sometimes that's, like, their personality and, like, you don't want to change some things. Like, not specifically the picking toe thing. Like, say she was really clumsy or something and always forgets something. It's like, can you accept that or not?
yeah, but sometimes...
But that's who you fall in love with, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a part of them.
Yeah.
They can't change that.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, in long-term relationships, both parties eventually merge and adjust.
Yeah, they coexist.
You know what I mean? They might adapt to whatever
Goku
routines.
merge.
Yeah, they would just, like, adapt to each other's fucking shit. And then
Yeah.
sometimes they might even get rid of that shit because they realize that that shit that they're doing is dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is true though.
But I mean, like, there are other people out there who, I guess, when they look at relationships, they go, well, am I going to do this short term, long term? Or is this a quick fuck and get out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know from a guy's perspective, a guy would probably think, well, if she's a 10, what's her character like? Do you think I would actually consider her long term? If not, I'm just going to fuck her and then get the fuck out.
But it's also, what do you consider as a 10? Like, is it all physical or is it character as a 10 too? Like, it depends on that person, what they're looking for.
Yeah. And I think it depends on their initial interpretation, right? So if you're attracted to someone, is it a physical attraction? Cool. But do you see something that's long-term potentially? If not, then it could potentially just be a lust where you just want to fuck and then...
it was all physical, no mental, no psychological, no emotional. Yeah.
So I think you got to connect with that person on an emotional level, intellectual level, as well as the physical.
But it's also what they want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they want a quick fuck, you want a quick fuck, then it's just going to be a quick fuck. If you both want something long term, you're not going to fuck on the first date. Oh.
The mutual understanding.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so what if you went on a few dates and everything seemed very perfect and they align with what you've been looking for? And then say, like, for example, a character, you guys don't want someone who just lashes out on the waiter. So say that happened once. How many times, or would you let that go? Or is that first encounter of that person lashing out is like you're straight away, no, I'm not going to deal with you anymore? Or do you just see if it happens
Probably
again?
talk to her about it, or talk to them about it. Just be like, oh, why'd you lash out at the waiter? Like they're just doing their job and shit, relax.
Yeah. And then just,
Yeah. And I think what Sam said is important, because if you can communicate that initially, and then depending on how she reacts to that, that's going to be your answer.
Shows you who they are.
Because most people might be like, no, that was a fucking bitch, blah, 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 they're doing this and that. And then you're going to get other people who are like, true.
Well, I didn't realize I lashed out. I didn't mean to.
Yeah. So, I mean, that initial reply will be your answer.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to ask for their perspective, because maybe something did happen that you just missed, and from your end it looks like they lashed out, but maybe the waiter said something beforehand that made her pissed off. So it's just asking her story or his story and seeing what happened, and willing to explain what that is. Because I think another red flag is people can be nice, but if they're not willing to explain their perspective, they're like, oh no, don't worry about it, I don't want to talk about it. That's a red flag for me, because you need to talk about these things. Like, if you're always going to be that person that's sitting on the sideline and guessing why this person did something and they're not going to explain it, like, you're never going to know how they feel or what happened or what made them angry.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point. Everyone's side of the story always has
there's two sides of the story,
right?
No, there's 3 sides.
Maybe 4.
It's 4 sides.
Hers, his, and the truth.
Yeah, that is true, hey. But normally the 2 sides will give you the truth. Yeah. So,
but yeah, like, it's not about the truth as well. Like, it's just more like knowing the reason behind why they felt that way.
How their brain works, how they work.
Yeah, and if you're never going to understand that, I think there's going to always be complications or things you won't understand ever in that relationship.
Happens a lot to a lot of introverts or people that don't show themselves emotionally.
Even if they're like, oh, I feel bad to say something, it's like you're actually just doing more damage by not saying anything.
Not just to themselves, but to the whole relationship.
Yeah, everything.
To summarize, what is your top red flags?
I think we all had pretty similar ones. It's just have a genuine character. Don't be rude or don't be disrespectful. There's nothing that's really physical that's a red flag. And I don't know, character.
Yeah, character and how you get along with each other, I guess. It goes both ways, but obviously if you go on a date and you guys can't even have a proper convo, that's the red flag. It's like, you're not compatible.
True.
And you have to be on the same thinking levels, and you want to grow together and everything too. Yeah. And
goals or something like that. Like, it's not saying that these people on our red flags are bad people. It's just like, like, it's not compatible with how we see things.
Or they're just looking for something different at that time.
Yeah.
Something different to what you're looking for. Like quick fuck, or just long term, or just friends or whatever.
Yeah. For me, similar to you guys, it's character, morale, and having the ability to be transparent in your communication. Because like Sam said, you guys need to be able to have that open conversation to grow together and call each other out if things were to go wrong.
Yep.
And that's the only way that you're going to learn together is to have those open conversations and say, hey, this is what's happened, blah, 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 without having any, I would say, disagreements from that.
Yeah.
Because I think you should be able to have open conversations for you to grow as a human being, because there's always going to be different perspectives or interpretations of conversations, right? So it's important to have those conversations to understand everyone.
It helps you like grow as a couple to slowly understand each other more as you progress as well.
Yep. 100%. Well, let us know what your top red flags are in the comments, guys.
Do you think that dating and general public have the same things? Like, do the red flags cross over between the two?
Let us know.
All right, that's it. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much if you have reached to the end. We really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Pika. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's AskTheDuoPodcast. Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye!
See ya!